Hello. Welcome to the pre-show banter for Comic Industry Insiders Live. Once again, it is Tuesday, and we're going live to 0 people. So, hopefully somebody will come on here in a minute, and many of you will be watching this recording later. So,
what if this is our future? What if nobody shows?
one.
We've got one.
Okay, thank God. Whew. All right, good. This is our pre-show, and if anybody is watching that we're not seeing, all 4 of you, good afternoon, Marvin. If you are a comics retailer, we're going to start off this week asking you for questions. We're going to ask you, how are things going? Because we are hearing really good news. We want to see how things are going in your neck of the woods, see what's selling. See what is moving. We want to hear from you in the comments as much as we can, and feel free to drop us a line and poke us all along the way. Brian,
yeah,
where are you?
I am in lovely St. Catharines, Ontario, just outside of Niagara Falls at the Canada Plays conference.
The Canada Plays conference. My goodness, how big is that?
A bunch of games. I don't know. I haven't really gotten my head around how many people are here. Feels like a couple hundred. And the game like vendors and retailers and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool.
How is it different from like a comics convention other than smaller? Is it?
It's similar. Like, so there's a kind of a vendors hall, which I haven't gotten to because it just opened at 1 and I was working on this. So there's a vendors hall that's open like till 4 today. And then there's like a main hall where they're doing presentations sort of like they did at Comics Pro. But yeah, fairly similar. And the swag bag, my God, the swag bag we got was massive, just full on games and stuff.
Awesome. I gotta go to one of those next. I will say that my going to that Hackfest last year was eye-opening for me, because it's just like this. It's I'm so used to going comics conventions it's just a whole brand new world of people who get together just because they like the same thing. It's just it's so interesting to see how that it's shaped by the people who show up, and it is really ends up being, I don't know, it's very similar and yet completely foreign at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in that world for like 12 years. And so, yeah, they're different for sure. The swag you get is like sweatshirts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. Although I will say that the Hackfest, the badge that you get to let you in also is like this full-on circuit board. I've got one around here somewhere. That had inside the circuit board was like programming that was a capture the flag. It was a CTF. So you had to go into the programming inside the circuit board in order to pull the code and solve the puzzle. And there was it's like a race for the people who were there. And there were people there. They were up like all night trying to solve this particular puzzle. It's incredible. I've never seen anything quite like it, and I don't entirely know how to bring it to comics, but I can't seem to stop thinking about it.
I know, like, there's so many interactive things at those like IT conferences where you're doing an activity. And yeah, I used to host a innovation day demo where I would so at the job I had, we would take 24 hours every quarter to just work on something. So you'd build a group and you'd have to have a shippable product in 24 hours. So I did a 1 hour demo of that where I was like, make the best presentation you can in 1 hour. And then teams would come up and present it. It was so cool.
Well, and I think we'll probably talk, I think, a little bit later about a presentation I had to do in 10 minutes this last week. But I think we're about to get to that. We're coming up on the top of the hour, which means if you are here, we want to hear from you. Especially if you're a comic book retailer, we want to know, how are things doing? One of the things that we're hearing is such big sales coming in the first quarter that everybody we talk to seems to be doing well. And we want to hear from you. How is your shop doing? What are your experiences been in comic shops over the last few months? And what are the things that are selling? So if you're in the comments, we want to hear from you. And why don't you hit that button so that we can get our nice little theme song going?
Yeah, you got it. I'll do that right now. Let's get this thing on the road.
Hi, my name is Adam Freeman. This is Comic Industry Insiders Live, a weekly, let's call it live stream. I don't know really what they call these things. I do a regular podcast that we ship once a week, every Tuesday, where we talk to the people behind the scenes of the comic book industry and learn what we can from them for your business or career in comics. And so we've started this live show with my buddy, Brian Garside.
It's
Brian.
me.
Hey, bud.
I'm in a different location today. Secret, not underground location.
Yeah, you're normally underground. They keep you there for to really tampen down the radiation that comes off of you. Isn't that right?
That's correct. That is correct.
I understand. I know we talked about this in the pre-show banter a little bit, but where are you exactly in the world?
I am in St. Catharines, Ontario, which is just about 5 minutes away from Niagara Falls, Ontario, at a conference called Canada Plays, and it's a game conference.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I hope you are bringing lots of your learnings back for us to us here in the comics world. I thought as you evangelize, I don't know, into the world of games. So we have quite a bit this week. I just got back from a little showdown, a little show myself called C2E2, and I think that's what we're going to be talking about mostly this week. Isn't that right? I think you've got a
we sure are. Of course,
this picture. Why are we still using this picture?
So good. I love it.
No,
I love it so much. This week we're going to talk about your time at C2E2. We're also going to dive a little bit into the latest on the Diamond Sales saga, and we will take a look at an interesting thing you mentioned, the value of underpriced attention and how to capture some of that. And then we'll talk a little C2D2 after dark and a sneak peek of next episode.
That's right. But before we get into that, once again, my name is Adam Freeman. I run a company called Prana Direct Market Solutions. We work for a variety of publishers and other people who work inside of the comics world. This is a look at our upcoming website, which, Brian, we should push live here sooner than later. I know you're waiting on me for some stuff. But if you go to even our current website, you're going to find this button saying sign up for the weekly newsletter. This is the Prana Bullet, which we put out every Friday. Inside of it, you're going to see some sales numbers. You're going to see our take on what's going on this week. You're going to see a little bit of hype, but mostly it's just going to be this nice skimmable bullet that you can use to kind of keep up to date on what's important in the business of comics for you each week. And it just takes one quick moment and we'll get you on the very next one. Thanks. So seriously, man, how is it we're talking about this every single week? Every single week, there's something new. Yes.
Well, there was a court case last week, or a court hearing last week, to decide whether or not Universal's new bid was accepted by the courts, and it turns out that it was not. And Alliance Entertainment is now currently, as of right now, April 15th, 2025 at 2:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alliance seems to be the proud owners of Diamond Comic Distributors.
And it seems that they have bought the entire lot. They seem to, there's still a whole lot of big question marks for Diamond UK. There's still some big question marks for Diamond Books. There's still big question marks about which of the programs that Diamond is going to like the Previews Magazine and Previews World. There's lots and lots of question marks that we're going to be hopefully getting answers to in the coming weeks. As we get to know what Alliance is, we understand, I think, with the size and scope of their business, and as we mentioned on this show last week, we got a very rare look at the sort of motivations behind their purchase from their chairman on another podcast, which apparently is not out there anymore, but still. So we have some idea of what they want. We just don't understand yet what they're going to do with it. My understanding is that they're keeping the Diamond staff as it is on, that they have no intention of just going in and wholesale laying off right at first, which makes sense. Take a look at what you have before you make any decisions. I know a lot of people have already left going into it, but all of the people who are got bonuses for sticking around, those bonuses were approved. So I can see that we're probably going to we'll probably see a Diamond that continues on as Diamond for a little while anyway, right? That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and I believe that any of the bidders who bid on this had to have a transition plan going in, and part of that was like they had to kind of have temporary deals with all the employees that they would be keeping on. So I imagine this will be kind of fairly smooth in terms of like the hard work's been done, and it'll just be like slotting people in and figuring out how the business works. And we shall see what happens.
And I will tell you, I'll give you guys our promise that we're going to do everything we can to now that we seem to know what the future kind of looks like. We're going to do everything we can to get some of the people who are going to be behind the scenes in that future on the show, on the podcast, get to know what those plans are and give them give you access to them, but also kind of give them a platform to discuss what that future looks like. I think there's so many options that are, still so far up in the air that we're looking at. And I know a lot of people who are trying to figure out just based on what Bruce, I can't remember his last name suddenly.
Ogilvy, I believe.
Bruce Ogilvy. Yes. A lot of people are trying to figure out now that is, what are his intentions with it, and how can we start shaping the product and the offerings and how we package them and those things. They're all beginning to think this through. So it's going to be a fascinating time. It's going to be a good time to have a live show where we talk about the comics industry. That's for sure.
For sure. We'll probably be talking about this particular story for the next foreseeable future. This is going to take at least a year to even start to shake out. And really, we probably won't know what this really means for a couple of years. But we should see the beginnings of it fairly soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, my guess is that we don't know what the top, what Alliance Entertainment's version of Diamond is until 2026. Yeah, like it's gonna take at least that long for them to, I think, even get to know where all the closets are, right? Not to mention what skeletons are in them. So it's gonna be a long process. So but looking forward to seeing how we all navigate that and give us more options. Also, if I had to guess, just based on my conversations with them, my guess is that Universal's not out. My guess is that we're gonna see them make another attempt, because this is their third attempt at moving into the US distribution market. I cannot imagine that they're going to just bow out and not do a fourth, because they didn't need it, right? So
no, I 100% agree. This is a great point by Marvin. Curious how they'll try to rebuild relationships with retailers and publishers. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Definitely has to be done.
100%. 100%.
So having a different product mix might be the thing that you need to do to get those relationships back.
Truly. I mean, I will say that one of the reasons that comic shops are so resilient is that many of them do focus on lots of different product lines, and they've essentially said, Alliance has said, we want new customers for the products that we already have, and that, incredibly resilient to somewhere, between 2,000 and 5,000 stores worldwide. Having access to kind of the rest of that physical media that they carry, it's not a bad thing,
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
So wonderful. So let's, we're
going to talk your big story about your Comic Industry Insiders Summit at C2E2.
Yes.
I would love to hear. Take us through how this even started. Like, how did this happen?
So this has been on my mind for a very long time. Back, Diamond slowly started withdrawing some of the programming at the bigger conventions, as much as like 3-4 years ago. And it was something that I saw as really necessary, like some industry programming where people are talking about industry issues and talking to comics retailers that are local. And if you're looking to talk to comics retailers, there's no better market than Chicago. As we talked about on this show last week, there are just an incredible number of fantastic comic shops in that area. Not to mention, I believe the second largest chain in comics is based in Chicago. So that has always been my pitch, is that they need better programming, and I would be happy to be involved. We've been talking to them for a while, and their new the guy that they have working working industry side stuff, doing the New York Comic Con programming for retailers and such, a man named Alex Ray. Alex and I worked together back at Valiant, and so we've become good friends. He said he came to us at San Diego and said, "Would you be interested?" And so we said, "Sure." And so we said, "What did you have in mind?" He said, "Really just a series of panels at the moment." So he said, "Can you give me like 5 or 6 ideas of what you might do?" And I thought, "Sure, I'll give you 5 or 6, and then you'll pick 1 or 2." So I gave him 5, and he picked them all. So I then had to go through the process of working my team and getting together 5 different decks of presentations, and brought in a friend, Taffeta Darling, to help me co-host a couple of these panels. And we were able to put together what I feel like was a really strong suite of programming that was focused on the comics industry. I will say the biggest surprise for me was that I was expecting to see those, incredible group of comics retailers there in Chicago. I was expecting to see them, their owners, maybe staff. I was expecting to see some of the publishers and distributors that we see at these shows. What we didn't see, honestly, what we saw mostly was consumers. We saw fans who were so intrigued by the comics industry that they showed up for my wonky ass talking about sales data and distribution. And who knew? Who knew they were going to be interested? It
So
was
you were
crazy.
expecting like 10 to 12 people, and how many people were in the room?
I would say the room probably held, I think it was probably like 65 or 70, and we were at least we were close to full every single panel.
That's awesome. That's so great.
So it was, it's not a ton of people. It's not Hall H at San Diego, but like it was, and it way more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yes, they are, right? The fans are really interested in how our industry works. They're very much interested in the mechanics of it. And I've got some really fantastic questions. Also got really fantastic questions from people who are obviously fans who are looking to be creators and fans who are looking to be retailers. So, I mean, we saw a whole generation maybe that's coming up behind and getting involved. Looking over here at the comments, Marvin, we're going to get into some of the panels, and I have some plans for all of them. Yes, the script to store panel, I actually have an idea for how we're going to present that to you. So make sure you subscribe to our channel. I think we're going to be able to put something together. And yes, Bronze Age Nerd, that is Graham Crackers. I believe they are the second largest chain right now, but I think they're behind. They were the first, but I think right now they're behind Coliseum of Comics. If, however, you watch, this is a tease, if I heard you say you watch the podcast that we dropped today over at Comic Industry Insiders, you might see somebody who's going to become, I think, is positioned to become the #1 retailer in the next year or two. So there's a little tease.
That's a tease. That's a big
I know.
Awesome. So on Friday you did 4. It looks like almost back to back panels. That's a lot of work.
It was exhausting. Let me tell you. Teachers in here, if you're on spring break and you're watching this, A, God bless you. B, I don't know how you do it. Like just talking and presenting and just that was exhausting for that long. I cannot imagine. Bronze Age Nerd, I just want to say Midtown and DCBS tend to go back and forth as to who is the largest account buying comics, but that's not the number of stores. Well, I was referring to the number of stores when we're talking about the largest chain of comics. So yes, it's a great distinction. Thanks for jumping in. But yeah, it was a bite. Like I said, I was not expecting them to take them all. We do this for conventions all over. We'll say, here's 5 or 6 things we can talk about. We already have programming ready to go. And they'll say, well, all right, we'll take that one and that one. And they did not. He said, all right, you have this room. Okay,
That's
dude.
Too good.
Let's go.
So you started out with comic book bestseller list.
We've covered that here a lot. We talked a lot about the FCR, fan confidence rating. We talked about our partnership with Managed Comics and with Comic Shop Assistant. We did. You got a whole lot of love. And we talked about how the number of subscriptions is going up rapidly. So it was a good little chunk of data that they all were very interested in. Again, super wonky when you get into, the weeds on how the fan confidence rating is put together. But yeah, but it was quite the crowd. We are working on, I'm going to actually say it now, and I'll talk about it with each of these. We are working on a presentation that I'm going to do video for that we'll have on the channel. And we'll be rolling those out over the course of the next probably couple months. So we'll be seeing that one. But the bestseller list is something that I think is a project that it's growing rapidly. Let's just put it that way. So looking forward to showing more. Script to Shelf. This is a fun one. We did this one first at Comics Pro this year. The idea was, what are the permutations that take a group of editors and creators in a room, and what are the processes that take that from this idea on a whiteboard? And we do show a whiteboard of a big DC event. What is it that takes that process from that whiteboard all the way through scripting, all the way through art and colors and letters, and then we get really into the weeds of printing and distribution and sales and how it's ordered and how the order flow works. One of the things I was realizing as I was giving it is I originally created this presentation for retailers who understand how the order flow works. If I'm going to be giving this to fans, we got to go in and show them how retailers order, right? Where do they make those decisions, and what are the stakes of those decisions? Because as a fan, you're always wondering, why do I go into the shop on Wednesday? I go in on Wednesday and it's sold out. There's a really good reason for that, man. And it's sales. They're running a business. You know this. Are you on mute, Brian, or is your mic out? Uh-oh. This is me vamping while Brian figures out his microphone. It's all right. Yeah, so I will say that the Script to Shelf panel is something that we are continuing to tinker with. And being somebody who has worked every step of that operation, it's nice to be in a position to show off that you've touched every piece. It's as a weird life that has been strangely devoted to understanding this whole process. It's nice to share that information occasionally. Are you back on, buddy?
Is it yeah. Voice here?
Yes.
Good. All right. Oh man. You talked about the past, present, and future of comics distribution.
We sure did. Yeah, we I realize now I should have put a couple commas in there. It was we're all of us every week we're talking about how comics distribution is coming together, and we're focusing in on what is the future of comics distribution, what is the present of comics distribution. But I realized that we never really had an opportunity to talk about what got us here. It's not many people talk about their age, but I'm 52 years old this year, and that makes me exactly as old as the comic book direct market, right? We were both born in 1972. So what are the permutations that took us to the direct market? How did the direct market form? How did Diamond end up getting that monopoly that they had for so long? All of those pieces. And I learned so much. I will tell you, Philip Sablik actually gave me my favorite piece that's going to go into this presentation from now on, is he talked about how the printing and distribution of comics came out of the mob needing a way to launder their money. Yeah, and your mic is still down, buddy. They legitimately, like, all of the original printing of comics, all of the original production of comics came out of this need of the mob to do something with all that cash that they were illegally getting, which is how you end up with all of these weird permutations of publishers. Will there be, publishers would be making books over here one week and then suddenly just move across the street. It's the same team under a different name making comics the next week. It's fascinating, and I'm going to make sure that we fill that out before we do it.
Wow.
Look at this.
I'm
all
back.
Right.
Different mic, same channel.
So yeah, that's coming. Marvin, I will tell you, none of those were recorded. We just, honestly, this was a little bit of a proof of concept for us. Could we put something like this together? And the answer is yes. So I'll be re-recording some of these, and even our next one actually is already recorded, and I'll give some details on that. But they'll be rolling out as they'll be re-recorded as episodes of our podcast, Comic Industry Insiders. This is coming up. Yeah, Kyle, man, Neil Adams always had amazing stories. I miss him so much.
I know.
Oh boy.
When
you find those clips, I would love to have them. That was part of the presentation.
When you talk about the past, and specifically kind of the 2022 now past, do you think there's any lessons we can learn for the future on how to not become the next Diamond?
I think we already did a little bit. I think what we saw was this bit of a brawl between, it came down to between, well, all of it started because Marvel wanted their own, distribution. That came out of the fact that they were suffering so badly. Not suffering. They were such in a weak position that somebody came in and was trying to essentially wring every dollar they could out of it and then sell, Marvel, right? That was the plan. Right. And so they end up bankrupting Marvel for that purpose.
This is back like 90, 91, right?
Well, yeah, I think it's 93, 94. It could be. Yeah. You would. I need to go back in and look at that timeline. But so they essentially decided to distribute their own exclusively from Heroes World, which started that cascade, right? So when you're a distributor, all of these regional distributors all over the country, you suddenly no longer have the biggest publisher. Well, what are you going to do? Right? The answer is you have to go looking for the thing that nobody else can have, right? So you need another exclusive. So DC goes to Diamond and says, well, we need to be exclusive. Or they're looking for, they went shopping, right, for a distributor that they could be exclusive at. And when it was finally decided, another piece that came out of our panel was DC had the opportunity really to kill the direct market in that moment. Like they had the opportunity to shore themselves up and just cut it off, because Diamond said, well, now that you're exclusive, do you want us to sign up other publishers? Because we can just do you in the same way that Heroes World is just doing Marvel. Right. And Paul Levitz, to his credit, and he has plenty of credit to get, but just to add on top of that, Paul Levitz said, no, yes, please bring on other publishers. We need to grow this up. We need to grow up a small press. And that's really what led us to where we are today, where you can open a real business around being a small press publisher. You can actually make a living and bring in staff and even build a retirement out of being a small press publisher. So all of it came down to that decision that Paul Levitz made. Fascinating time. It's a fascinating time. So I think, do I think we're going to be there again? It's possible, but I think we've already gotten past the spot that caused that, right? It was needing to find a buyer, a big corporate buyer for Marvel that got us here. Now Disney owns Marvel. Time Warner, or whatever they're called at the moment, owns DC, right? So long as they're there, why would they? They don't want to go into the distribution business.
Yeah.
We can get into that with Murdoch. There's a lot of, have they stopped distributing? Not yet, is my understanding. If you already had an account with Diamond and you were distributing, you should continue to be able to distribute. And I called that one wrong. I told actually one of our clients, look, there is no Diamond in April. Obviously I was wrong. It's April and there's still a Diamond. But as far as I know, you can still distribute to small press through Diamond. It's just to a smaller and smaller pool of retailers that order on a regular basis.
You
know what? I need to go back in and look, but I can tell you as a retailer, I was a retailer during that period. Once we went exclusive once we were already a Diamond account, and we were already getting small press from them. It didn't stop.
Yeah.
Right. They were continuing to order. We were beginning to order product back then. But back then we were ordering, as Murdoch mentions, from Capital City and from a few others. It was an ongoing, it was just as exciting. It was just as interesting. It was just as engaging during that period as it is right now. You really had to keep your ear to the ground. The difference was it was like through fax machines and phone calls as opposed to the internet. Right. So it was a crazy time. So yeah. There's actually an interesting story about Image going to Diamond that we get into in the episode where I talked to Jim Valentino. We can discuss that. But Top Cow itself is always, I'm a Top Cow alumni, having worked there. So it's an interesting place, Murdoch. So anyway, yeah, it was really fascinating though, because we had a lot of really smart people on that panel.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's interesting too, like from 2020 on, watching, because I was around in the 90s when that original thing happened. In 2020, it was almost the reverse of that, and you could see Diamond's grip like loosening every step of the way, to the point where they started actually like participating in things like Comet, which they at the beginning had no interest in, and then as things changed and they saw the benefit that other distributors were getting by being part of that kind of thing, they started playing the game with us.
Yeah. It was, I was having kind of personal relationships with everybody at, a lot of people at Diamond, people at Lunar, people at DC. Like I was on the phone every week. It was so weird. I was stuck at home during lockdown, but I was on the phone every day talking to people about how this thing was going down in real time. It was such a weird time. And that, if ever there is a book written on that, it'll be as much about the personal relationships as it was the business.
For sure.
I think that's the most fascinating piece of all this, that there really is about, at the end of the day, it's people, right? And at the end of the day, it's your relationships that keep a business going. So yeah. 100%. And then, yes, on Saturday we did The Future Is. This was actually fun. The Future Is we've talked about this on the podcast. If you are not yet subscribing, go to your comic shop and say, I want The Future Is. Go onto your managed comics platform right now and subscribe to it, because you can do that as a fan. Go to get The Future Is into your subscriptions. We talked about that for Recca Comics, and we talked about the future of The Future Is, and we talked about hacking and cybersecurity and how to keep yourself safe. And we even had our very own hacker, who was there, a woman named Ashley, and I'm completely up on Ashley's last name, and I apologize, Ashley, if you're watching this. with the other 20 people watching. But Ashley, if you're watching this, like you did an amazing job of essentially telling this crowd kind of the stories of how to keep yourself safe, but also the ways in which hackers get into your shit, right? They their job as criminals is to wake up every day, go to an office, and figure out how to crack into your shit. And when they take your shit, they use that to hire more people to crack into other people's shit. So if you want to be a good member of society, your best role is to make sure that you keep your own shit. So anyway, we talked a lot about that. And she told some really amazing stories about what they do as penetration testers, as ethical hackers, is they get hired by companies to go in and break through the firewall and even get past security in their building, right? So, and talk their way through the security, the scan badges, and to get up into crack open the elevators. Well, you talked about conferences earlier a little bit, and one of the activities at the Hackfest is they have doors, just rows and rows of doors with different locks on them, and they teach you how to crack open each one of those locks.
Awesome. That's amazing.
And the point is, so that when you know how what the weaknesses are of something, you can make it stronger. As the owner, John Strand, the owner of Black Hills Information Security and the company behind Rekka Comics, as he loves to say, everything is weak until it is broken. Because when it is broken, we know where the weakness is and we can fix it and we can make it stronger.
Yeah.
And so that's what these hackers do, is they go in and they find the weaknesses and they break them. And that allows us as individuals, as companies, as industries to strengthen our shield, as it were. It's a fascinating world that I've really enjoyed getting to know as an outsider and just as a comics guy, getting to know a bunch of hackers. It's been a lot of fun.
That's super awesome.
So, yeah.
Let's take a quick look at the future is.
Oh,
so
yeah.
This is our friends Books with Pictures, and they're in Eugene, Oregon, and this is their managed comics portal. And we have Futures number 1, which is 1337. Why is it 1337?
Because 1337 upside down spells leet. And in hacker speak, that means that you are the shit if you are leet. Yes.
And then every additional issue will be $4.04.
That's correct.
Book not found. I love it. So great.
We're hoping that comic book will be found. But yes, it's it was a really, really incredible experience, kind of showing that this amazing project to folks, and we're actually going to talk a little bit more about that next week and a little bit further in this episode. That particular project, it's coming up. It's super exciting, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. As the guy who is essentially the publisher on this project, I cannot tell you. This might be one of the things I'm most proud of for my career, and it has been a long career. So,
let's talk a little bit about underpriced attention. Now, this was something that you found at the show, on the show floor, and what did you see?
So this concept of underpriced attention, I took this from Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V for many of you. And he's a bit of a controversial figure for many reasons, but somebody that I've gotten to know a little bit and gotten to know his crew. He talks in several of his books about how social media is underpriced attention, right? It doesn't cost you anything to post, and you get an opportunity to talk to a lot of different people. Brian, for us podcasting, these live shows, this is underpriced attention, because it really is just our time that we're investing into getting to see you. So as marketers, as salespeople, our job is to seek out that underpriced attention. We live in an attention-based economy, meaning that there is nothing more valuable than the attention of your audience. Right now, the people that are watching this and investing their time in us, they are giving us that attention, and we need to earn that attention, and we need to deserve that attention. And so I think a lot about this as I go through the world, and especially at C2E2. And I found one particular group that I felt like was doing an incredible job inside of the comics sphere of finding that underpriced attention. And I will tell you, they did not spend a small amount of money to get it done. I could not even begin to figure out the balance of how much this cost. But our friends at Unknown Comics, Darren Hutchinson, if you're watching this, brilliant, absolutely brilliant presentation that we saw in the middle of the show floor at C2E2. Now, C2E2 is a comic book convention. It's a pop culture convention, but there are very few publishers on the floor. And I will say the retailers that are there are more like convention dealers, right? Than they are like, say, I think Graham Crackers had 2 booths there, but they didn't have, they were probably the only ones that I saw that were local that had booths there. But Darren did this amazing job. Go ahead, Brian.
There's quite a few. There's Zombie Unicorn usually has one. State of Comics, which is in Michigan, they have one.
Okay.
But yeah, there's usually a fair number. Graham Crackers always has one that kind of looks like a store.
They did
like
too, actually. Yeah. He had his his back issues and the high end back issues display on one side of the room, and then his store on the other side of the room. And that was pretty good. Yeah. And I saw Jamie there kind of keeping his eyes on everything. And that's Jamie way about him, determined to get an interview with that man. I'm so looking forward to it. But Darren, I wanted to talk about what he does. So most of what Darren does is yes, exactly. That's just it, Greg. He does an amazing job of these convention setups because a big part of his business is these exclusive covers. And those exclusive covers are, a lot of people do business in these, right? But what Darren does, if you'll go back to that other slide that we had open, no, the other direction. The big, there you go, right there. Nope. Yeah, well, that one works too. So rather than have stacks of comics on a table or even on easels, they have these big fabric panels that are lit from behind, and the covers that they have available are displayed in the size that they would be there and the art that they would be there, so that you can get like right up to them and take a good look at the art that's there. And he displays these hundreds of facings of these comics that are kept in a back room that you tell a staff member, hey, I want this one. They go back and get it for you. It is an incredibly efficient use of space. I don't know how efficient it is for a use of manpower, but like as far as like getting that many facings into that square footage, mind-blowing use of space.
And safely too, right? Like nobody's going to steal that thing when it's on a wall.
Exactly. Although it'd be fun. That'd be a good heist, trying to figure out how to steal one of those walls. Huh? Come on. Let's go, Brian.
That's a heist.
But the thing that he did that I loved the most about this year's display, was he didn't just show off these books. He used a trick that comics conventions themselves, pop culture conventions themselves are using, which is he got an entire line of media stars to set up. Yeah, there we go. All of the X-Men 97. I didn't watch it. I apologize if I got the date wrong. It is X-Men 97, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank God I got it right. You got the entire cast seated there. And I swear to you, I went by there no less than 4 times hoping to talk to Darren. They were never not busy. Like, they were just constantly busy. Both the celebrities that were signing, the staff that was selling books, Darren himself was being run ragged. It was beyond impressive. And I say that as somebody who has, I've built those displays. I have gone through and built those plans. I've worked with conventions, for decades. I've rarely seen anybody that strong in the game. It was really wonderful to see. But as somebody who is legitimately taking his position in that convention floor and putting a real dollar value on that underpriced attention. I think he did an amazing job. And if there are awards for this kind of thing, he should at least be a nominee this year. So good on you, Darren.
That's amazing. Yeah, like that's a great way to get people over to your booth, because it's I imagine that was a distance away from where the kind of celebrity signatures were.
Yeah, I mean it was, because it's right in the middle of the convention. He
Yeah.
paid a premium for the placement, but it looks like, I don't know. As a kid, maybe I'm rare, but I loved P.T. Barnum, the biographies. He had an autobiography, and then I read everybody else's biography of him. It was that kind of thinking, right?
Right.
He used
Yeah.
his position to get a crowd, and I think it's just wonderful. And obviously I've talked a lot about it. It should keep going.
I love it. What happened after dark?
Well, Brian,
What are you
as
allowed
you
to
know,
talk about that happened after dark?
well, shut up. There wasn't that much. No, on Friday night, we did a party that I wish I had gotten better pictures of. I was so exhausted after having
I
done.
couldn't find any pictures on the internet about this.
I know. Well, it's because what happens in the basement of the Goblin Market stays in the basement of the
That
Goblin
is
Market.
true. Otherwise, people would see me in Avi's clothing.
Why didn't we have a photo of that queued up?
There may be photos that exist that I know of.
Oh man, yes. Last year we did this for the first time at the Goblin Market, which was a brand new comic shop back then. It is one of the most beautiful shops I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do an amazing job, and their basement looks like it's essentially it's the spot where people do gaming and classes and all sorts of stuff. But it's so beautifully set up. It just feels like your grandmother's parlor if your grandmother was a Tim Burton fan.
Yeah.
And and really had a thing for mushrooms. Like yeah, it's a gorgeous space. Anyway,
like the fruit mushrooms, not
yeah. I mean that too. Yeah. I'm gonna say yes to all of the above. It's anyway. I love the space. We had such a good time last year, and Brian and I got to know each other a little bit last year.
Yeah,
I think as a result of this. And oh yeah, here we go. Here's some pictures of their the top floor. Actually, it has even built out since then. Since these pictures, he's got a lot more displays.
That's wild.
If you go on Comic Industry Insiders, we had an interview with that team from last year, and we even did a little video tour of the shop. So I absolutely recommend checking that out, because it's a beautiful shop. But we did a party there last year, and Brian kind of famously traded clothes with Avi Ehrlich from Silver Sprocket, and it was comical. Let's put it that way. Someday we'll share those photos if Brian doesn't pay up. This year there was a moment where we were sitting around, and I think everybody was just a little bit exhausted, and somebody said, there's a lot less stripping this year. And that was when we realized, well, we hadn't had a round of Malort yet. So the Malort.
God, no.
No,
why would you do that to yourselves?
Because there are no good choices made after Malort, and maybe you're hoping for that. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so yeah, it was a good time. And then actually on Saturday night, I even went to a party where I got to see Charles Soule's band play.
Oh yeah,
so the multi-talented Charles Soule. It's
awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. I have to admit, I had a really great weekend, even if it was exhaustingly busy. So yeah.
And did you fly out on Sunday?
I did not. I needed to get home. There's too much to do here. I was hoping to have another day on the floor, but I'm just
Yeah, you really. I'm about 2 Avis, so yeah, it's interesting. I think Avi put both of his legs into one of my pant legs.
That's right, he did. And then he did a little not striptease, but he did a little dance in
there was a
Brian.
dance.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Yeah. No good choices are made after Malort.
No, it's true.
We'll be doing a summary of this and all the things that are happening this week, and maybe a picture of Brian in Avi's jumpsuit.
No, there won't
And
be. There will not be. No.
this week's Prana Bullet. Please be sure to subscribe right now at pranadm.com. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter, and you will get the very next one. I'm actually realizing that I didn't actually put one out last week because of C2E2. But next week, this week, I'm getting one out.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's all right. We'll get there. Yes. I've been talking about them this whole time. Why don't you tell us what's happening next week?
Yeah. So next week we're going to have, are we confirmed 3?
We're confirmed at least 2.
Cool.
We are confirmed.
Jason's coming.
Jason Blanchard of Rekka Comics, who was a comic book retailer, then worked for Diamond Comics for many years, ran Free Comic Book Day, now works for a cybersecurity firm and started his own publishing imprint. And we're doing the first launch of The Future Is. And we're also going to have Joe Keating, who started his career at Image Comics as a marketer and one of the first marketing people at Image Comics, and then became a writer and won an Eisner for one of his projects. He has now moved into editing because he got so good at everything else he did. He moved into editing, and so is now our editor on this project and is signing up an incredible murderer's row of cover artists. We're gonna have those 2 guys and hopefully another couple of surprise guests. Yeah, next time on Comic Industry Insiders. This episode has been a long ad for my shit. That's
right. Just talking all about yours. Hey, I got some little plugs to do.
Oh, let's hear them.
The Data Bros will be back on Friday with our episode about Toy Boat. Have you heard of this thing before?
Toy Boat. I know that Toy Boat is very difficult to say 5 times fast.
Toy Boat. Yeah. So Toy Boat is a convention on the water on a Royal Caribbean cruise for 4 days, I want to say, that Jeff and Django took. And so I grilled them on exactly what they did. What do you get up to on the Toy Boat?
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Like they went down to Nassau and like they hung out with all these toy vendors, and we were like, this needs to be Comics Pro. Why is Comics Pro not on the water?
I know. I'm with you.
It was amazing. So yeah, they did Toy Boat, and I think the next episode is going to be. It's called "Oops, I Shopped My Pants," and you'll find out about that one next Friday. So yeah, we've got the next 2 in the can. So check out databrosinc.com to find the next episode of Data Bros,
or wherever fine podcasts are found, right?
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. The SDCC cruise and Comics Pro are back-to-back weekends.
Oh, nice. Really? Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
XP says because cruise ships have insufficient Wi-Fi promo. Oh, we could figure it.
That's gotta happen. It's not insufficient. It's just really overpriced. If my one cruise experience taught me anything, is that they really want you to be present because they make the Wi-Fi very expensive.
Yeah, I've been on probably 4 cruises, and I remember the first one I went on, like that first 2 days, I was just going crazy because I didn't have the internet. And then there becomes a point, like on the 3rd day when we're in the middle of the ocean, you're just like, oh, I don't have the internet. Whatever. Like, yeah, maybe I'll just go hang out at at the cafe all day. It was really good.
You guys have worked with enough publishers to know that there's no way they'll get their presentations done in time before the cruise ship leaves to have everything submitted before we lose the Wi-Fi. So, we have to go someplace where they have 5G and super fast fiber internet.
Or they just have to bring a server with them with all the stuff.
That's right. Yeah. This actually, because we're running running fast on this episode, I can share this story. of I did the first 3 panels on Friday, and I had decks all prepared for them. Put a couple hours into one of them, which was the. Did we even talk about? We didn't even talk about the
No, we
how
missed
print will
one.
save digital. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
We missed that
I
one.
did a panel called "How Print Will Save Digital," where I talked to a panel of people who are doing physical presentation journalism, essentially, right? So I talked to Chip Zdarsky, who is doing Zdarsky Comic News. I talked to Tiffany Babb, who's doing the Comics Courier, which is this newspaper thing that's very cool. It's just comics criticism.
Crazy.
We talked to our friend Dave Whitting, who now owns CSN, and we talked to Jaslyn Stone from Tiny Onion, who they have their own physical newspaper that they do at conventions. And so I did a panel with the 4 of them virtually. I did a digital panel of them and then used clips of that for the presentation. So it was just me and them there in spirit, but not physically. So that was a fun. I've never actually done a panel like that, but we do have the full interview that's going to go up as an episode soon on the podcast.
Oh, that's super cool.
But I did tease early on, talking about Kyle's joke about publishers not being ready. I was up the night before getting mine ready to go, and then I realized just before we went on with the distribution past, present, future, I didn't have a deck because I thought, well, I've got a group of people that are going to talk. I mean, Christina Merkler, Philip Sablick, Chris Arendt, like these are people who can talk. And I thought I don't need a deck. And then I realized if we're going to talk about the past, I really have to have a timeline. Yeah. So I sat down and I worked with my friend Charles Gary Patrick Thompson.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I know that guy.
And we knocked out a panel inside of 10 minutes. And
wow.
I have to say, it turned out pretty well. That guy Charlie, he seems to be useful for the proper uses.
So. If you can constrain him and know enough about the subject to know when he's hallucinating.
That's exactly right. Yes,
very, very valuable.
Because he really does. He does hallucinate occasionally. We didn't hear from any comics retailers this week. I realized we teased this at the top of the show, but did anybody who's here? One of the things that has happened this week is we got a couple quotes from presentations and from social media posts, both on Bleeding Cool and on Popverse, about how well comic book retailers are doing. And if anybody is in the audience and is hearing this, we'd love to hear your reports. How was your first quarter? What are the products that are selling? What's keeping you going? And are you seeing the same sort of record-setting sales that a lot of the stores that we're talking to are seeing? I will say it's not universal. I did talk to 2 stores in Chicago who said it was okay. It was all right. The bills are getting paid, but that's about it. But everybody else I have spoken to has just said record-setting first quarter, right? Which is incredible. I love hearing that. And I know that you see a lot of that, right?
Yeah, like our March this year was, this is my first year, but our March was quite higher than January and February. So I was seeing kind of growth every month, but definitely March was the highest one of the 3 so far.
Yeah. Look at this. Tommy Donovan, 18%.
Yeah.
Double-digit growth.
Yeah.
Publishers, this is what happens when you bring out strong book. Here you go, right here. Publisher, this is what happens when you bring in strong books to market in the first quarter, is they sell, right?
Yeah.
The audience shows up every week. So, yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Jen King, she can't get to the phone because she's so busy making money. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're seeing a real boost on the back of Ultimate Comics, on the back of the Absolute line, on the back of the Skybound Transformers books. Incredible. Yeah, it's also nice getting, it's nice getting quoted in these in these on these sites.
Look at you.
I know. Well, Yep. Yeah, it is a good time to be selling comics, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's going to keep getting better, I think, with the Marvel DC crossovers that are coming, and a few of the other things I know that are coming that haven't been announced. I've heard some really big stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. DC doing some of that lift. Also, honestly, Marvel doing an amazing job. Their social guy right now is killing it. He is doing an amazing job of promoting comics. Yeah, absolutely. I think his name is Tim Dillon, and the guy's doing a fantastic job. Yeah.
What kind of standouts have you seen from Marvel lately?
Just they're doing a good job of making sure that their social is pushing on whatever comic series is the one, what their push is, and pushing it towards comic shops. Like they're not like pushing towards online sales. They're not trying to direct to consumer sell. They're just pushing the product and saying go buy it wherever you buy. And I think that says a lot about their confidence in its abilities, right? Yeah. They're not.
New Amazing Spider-Man launched last week. If there's any retailers in the chat, what are you guys seeing from that? So just they're kind of continuing the same creative team and just launched a new #1. And I'm just curious what other people are saying.
Yeah,
our numbers didn't significantly change. We got a few new subscribers, but yeah, it was pretty close, within probably 10 units of the last one, which was kind of disappointing. I was hoping for a bigger lift.
Well, if they're just continuing on but changing the numbering, I think it's not surprising. I think comics fans are not dumb. There was a time when you could pull that trick and make it really work, but I think you gotta bring something special to it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you guys know I work with about 10 or 12 retailers every week.
Yeah,
sure.
And con dealers every week, and they are seeing sales go up. Maybe not 20%, but everything is up. It feels like after COVID, people from being locked down for a while and buying a lot of comics, buying a lot of nostalgia, buying a lot of stuff to do at home, went out for a couple of years and were spending money on experiences. Cruises, going on vacations, concerts, festivals, whatever. It feels like that's regulating back down now, where concerts are less busy than they were, but comic stores are becoming more busy than they had been over that period. Because people are getting back to sort of that balance of experience versus hobby. Right. And even my vintage business, which is most of what I deal in at this point is vintage, is up about 12% this year. Which vintage never bottomed out the way I don't want to say bottomed out, but never dropped off the way other things did. But to see it growing again is very cool. So it gives me hope for reopening a brick and mortar and becoming more of a traditional retailer again. Maybe not soon, but sooner than had originally been planned.
You guys who keep making this choice, I don't understand it. I mean, I keep going back to when the comic shop guy on The Simpsons had a heart attack, and he goes to the hospital, and Dr. Hibbert says, "What do you do?" And he says, "I run a comic shop." And the doctor says, "Oh, we call that the Widowmaker." Yeah, so
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're about wrapped up here, Brian. And I know I have to do a hard out because I have an interview that I'm looking forward to and looking forward to bringing to the podcast. We want to say thank you guys for logging in, especially if you're watching this after on any of the various platforms that this is on. We're broadcasting a wide net these days. So if you've been with us live, thanks so much. Thank you to Tommy Donovan and Murdoch and Kenneth Bird. Greg Huddlehop. Really, seriously, you guys really make this fun. It's nice having a conversation with people who are in on this, and you know, I mean, what we do is just so boring to my family, and yet you're here. I appreciate it.
There you go. Can I throw out a quick plug?
Please.
This Thursday, which I guess is the 17th, I will have a live webinar at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you go to managecomics.com/webinar, you can sign up for our webinar and find out what we do. We're doing these bi-weekly, so the next one will happen, I think, May 1st, and then the following one, the 17th. So please join up and be part of our Thursday webinar and find out what we do with Managed Comics and how it influences the fan confidence rating.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, does that mean that if a publisher really focused on managed comic stores, that they would increase their fan confidence rating?
Well, we will see. We're going to see that real soon. I got a interesting proposition to make to you.
I can't wait. Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday. And yes, I know what that means. Have a good one. Namaste.